Hello, and welcome back to Amplify My Impact. I am Kaci Brown, and I am so excited to dive into today's topic with you. Now, in the past few episodes, I've shared about the purpose workshop that I hosted for a company, and I have just got to say, my heart has been reeling. My soul feels so full. So I thought it would be fun to kind of unpack this podcast version of the purpose workshop, because I think sometimes, when we think about the impacts that we want to create with our businesses, we can have our moments of clarity where we have, a set direction, we have chosen the direction that we want to go, and then we get to work. And sometimes in the work, we pile on all of the things of expectations, of stress, of someone else's definition of success. And through iteration and adaptation, sometimes we forget why we started in the first place, or we start to look at the momentum and the progress as the measuring stick of success, and not so much like that North Star of our purpose. And what I found in when we kind of paused for that hour in that workshop, that we looked at it, and it gave them the opportunity to kind of just reflect and recalibrate. And so I want to do that in an episode, or I want to see if we can do that in an episode. So I invite you to join me on this experiment as we recalibrate to amplify our purpose. So I am actually going to pull up my slides and walk through them as I do the podcast here. So if you're watching along on YouTube or any other areas where the video is broadcast, you'll see me looking at different screens, and we'll probably actually edit this so that we can put some of the slides in there in post-production. But in the last episode, I talked about empathy as a superpower, and I used the phrase activate awareness. And I have, over the years, when you do this enough, you find the pattern and the repetition and the way that you kind of frame things and explain things. And sometimes that in and of itself is a process to figure out what are the steps and what are the frameworks. And for the longest time, I would really just naturally kind of talk through these. But in preparing for this workshop, I really wanted it to be organized and structured, because I knew I would only have a small window of time for everyone there to kind of absorb the framework that they could then go and take and apply to their lives. So reversing from activation, and you guys have heard me talk about decide, declare, do, like active momentum towards your goals is huge. And when we talk about the impact that we're creating and what we're doing in our lives and our business, it is all how we are operating, the action that we are taking, who we're being, why we are taking those actions. So reverse engineering from activation. First, it comes into four kind of phases. The first being awaken, then align, then anchor, and to activate. So it's like calibrating your compass, like figuring out what that North Star setting is going to be on our destination for our journey. So when we talk about awakening, it's really just like that, seeing the world differently, seeing your gifts, your experience, all of the things that you've been through in life, the good and the bad and the ugly, as who you are today, like opening up the opportunity, shifting perspectives. And when I do this, I like to talk about and share one of the greatest perspective shifts for us, for me personally, and I know Adam, we share this often, is when he was diagnosed, we realized tomorrow is not guaranteed. We were very young. And when you're young, sometimes you think you've got your whole life ahead of you. You got everything mapped out. You know, you literally work hard, you retire, and then you enjoy all of the things that you retired and you worked hard and you saved up for. But the thing is, like, that comes with like 20 or 30 years of preparation and hard work and savings. And sometimes, like, the only thing we're guaranteed is this present moment. And when you shift into that perspective, it's pretty powerful. And even though he was the one diagnosed, I also realized I wasn't promised tomorrow. Like, none of us are promised tomorrow. At any point in time, things could shift, an accident could happen, like, plans can change. And that was a hard truth, but also a really special gift, I feel, in the way that we approached our life, our business, our relationships with each other and our kids. And in the pursuit of sort of like, I am a lifetime learner. And a lot of those early years I spent in trying to understand myself and unraveling a lot of my thought patterns and processes and really healing from the inside out. And that created the opportunity eventually to have the opportunity to share some things on the TED Talk stage, and that presentation, sharing the story and looking back at the journey through Adam's diagnosis and realizing, you know, like, tomorrow's not promised for any of us. I came across the work of Bronnie Ware, and she wrote the book 5 Regrets of the Dying, and I want to read those to you right now. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. And these are always interesting because Bronnie created this book from being at the bedside of like dozens, like hundreds of people who were grieving, and they were processing through the end of their life and looking back. And so she compiled these 5 regrets. And it's, one, heartbreaking, but also 2, eye-opening with the potential that we have to embrace any one of these. So any one of these that I read, like, did you feel that? Did you feel that ting? And I want to say, if you did, congratulations, because that is the motivation that you can have for an opening to your purpose and to stepping in and just being aware and awakening that awareness of what you want to create in your life. The things that stood out to me of these 5 was the courage to live a life true to myself. So for the longest time, as I shared in the last episode, like, I thought my sensitivity, my empathy, my emotion was a weakness, and that I had to be tougher, and I had to show up differently as a leader, as a business owner, and I had to market myself differently, and I had to compete with everybody else that was loud and bold and all of these things that I was not. And then I really realized, like, wait a second, I don't hesitate when I just am me, and I get to be me 24/7. And so as soon as I gave myself that permission, I started showing up differently, right? So that really stood out to myself. And I wish I had let myself be happier. That one hit me hard because as an empath, I am a people pleaser naturally. And I started needing to shift and include myself into the people that I served. And so their happiness and mine mattered. That was the beginning of both and for me. And I pursue that unapologetically now, but it took a process. So those were the 2 for me. And I'm just curious, like, for you to kind of like mark what it was for you that stood out. Because the thing is, like, life happens and we adjust, we learn, we adapt. and we grow wiser, right? We forgive ourselves, and the whole point is to expand those perspectives. And so I want to share this quote. If you haven't read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, oh my gosh, so good. She's one of my favorite authors. I love her quotes. One of her quotes I don't have in front of me, but to paraphrase it, is essentially, I've never seen someone grow personally without getting tired of their own bullshit. And that has just been such a true, like, truer words were never spoken. Like, we can BS ourselves into believing and limiting our opportunities, and the minute that we remove that as a factor and we get ruthlessly honest with ourselves and figure out how to navigate when we are trying to BS ourselves, when we are truly uncomfortable, or where we are like leaping from the fringes of our comfort zone, like, that's a powerful moment of our own personal development. But in this purpose workshop, I found a quote from her, and I want to share it with you. The universe buries strange jewels within us all and then stands back to see if we can find them. It is such a journey of self-discovery, and then figuring out, oh my gosh, this is my jewel. This is my special gift to the world, and it's been in me the entire time. I just needed to see it. So, at this point in the first section of Awaken, it's beginning to see and acknowledge what you love, right? And for me, it was building community. It was servant leadership. It was encouraging and uplifting others. I, did not have any problems launching something messy, building something in tandem with people, because the relationship and the experience and the feedback and seeing their progress in real time was very fulfilling for me. And so I really don't need to have a different philosophy in how I teach and how I embrace. It's very vulnerable. It's very authentic to who I am. I'm not afraid to be messy, and that's okay. But ultimately, I realized I am driven by impact, and it is perfectly okay for me to build a business with other business owners who are driven by impact as well. I don't have to work with everyone. I get to choose who I work with, and I can market, and I can create growth strategy, and I can lean into teams who truly have impact as a goal for their growth, who want to improve the lives of customers and clients with how they solve problems. And I don't have to apologize for it. I don't have to work with people who are only about profit. It gets to be both and, right? So sometimes we find our mission, and other times our mission finds us. We begin to see the world differently, right? And so I want to encourage you at this awaken phase. What do you value? Where are your principles? Like, where is your heart? Lean into that. What lights your soul on fire? And what impact do you ultimately want to create in the world? I think when we unhinge ourselves and we run after it with our whole heart, that's when the purpose really awakens. Okay. All right. So I want to skip through a few of these, and I want to get into, well, actually, hold on a second. So in the workshop, I worked through some prompts to ask yourself, and I want to see if we can do this in podcast form. So reflect today. Write down your answers with your purpose. And this was one of the ones that we talked about. Like, when you hear the words, or when you think about yourself, I am, and you fill in the blank. I am strong. I am powerful. I am motivated. I am creating a community to lean in on each other. Like, how do you answer that? How do you complete that sentence if you just hear I am? And then if you finish the sentence of I value, or my soul lights up when you when you ask yourselves these questions and what you want to create, that's where the jewels are lying. That's where our treasure is just waiting to be unearthed. So, are you brave enough just to ask yourself those questions? And has it been a while since you asked yourself those questions? All right. And so, after we walk through that and after we ask those questions, the next phase is alignment, aligning your purpose and your intention. So for me, aligning purpose and intention, it was 100%, no question, family oriented, flexible. I wanted to be there every step of the way for my kids. I wanted to be able to go to the Mother's Day tea party, to the pre-K graduations. I wanted to chaperone the field trips. I wanted to take weeks off for spring break and go to Disney. And so that is where I started creating as a business owner. And that is the opportunities I started to really pour into for other businesses. You know, we aligned in those values. I served the business with the same family values that wanted freedom. They wanted to create a lifestyle business. They wanted to create experience for their families, and they wanted to create impact. And so the thing is, like, when you start asking yourself those questions, like, what are my natural strengths and talents? What are activities that make me feel most alive and fulfilled? What have I overcome and endured to get me to this place? You find the people that you are called to serve when you reflect on your journey, right? And so that was aligning my purpose, and I'm picking up the pace a little bit. And so I want to, ask yourself, what impact is it that you want to create in relation to what you do with your business, in your family? Like, get specific, get intentional, and make the choice to actively pursue it, right? How are you leveraging your natural strengths and talents? Where do those fit in, right? And then, when's the last time you asked yourself and you answered the question, I feel the most fulfilled when? Okay? And then the stories of overcoming, right? I think aligning your purpose is also leveraging the experience that life has gifted you. And when I say gifted, I mean the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't wish what we have went through, the fear, the uncertainty, the sleepless nights, the stress, the panic attacks, the tears, like everything that has come with Adam's diagnosis, surgery, recovery, surgery again, the uncertainty, the myriad of medication that he has to take. I would never wish that on my worst enemy. Like, no person I ever want to go through that. But at the same time, it showed us how strong we are, that we're much stronger than what we originally thought. And we are actually actively overcoming it day in and day out, because it's an ever presence in our reality. But it doesn't define us, but it has opened up opportunities for us to shift our perspective, and those perspective shifts have been an absolute gift to our family and the way we operate our day-to-day life. So ask yourself, what have you overcome when it comes to, like, calibrating your compass for your purpose? What is the story that you have to share and inspire someone, or the words of wisdom that you can whisper to someone who might be going through something similar, and they are literally walking a road that they have no navigational center for, but you can pour into them? Okay, the next part of this is anchor. Anchor your commitment. And so, two words that are the most powerful that you could ever do with how you want to anchor yourself and your intention. I've already stated them, but I didn't pause and give them as much emphasis as I am now. I am. And when you say, I am committed, you update your language, you change the way that you're activating action in your life. And so you literally write out your commitment. And this is one of the throwbacks and the reflections of Decide, Declare, Do. You literally are declaring what you are committed to, what you are creating, what you are running towards, right? So I'm going to look at this slide really quickly, and I want to make sure that I emphasize this to the deepest parts of my soul. I am committed. You want to update your language and ground yourself in your intentions to take daily actions and create accountability mechanisms so that you stay in momentum of your purpose and fulfillment of your soul's calling. Small, consistent habits that align with your purpose. You're going to create daily habits of winning that set yourself up for success. It is no mistake that I have consistently, almost in every single episode, talked about habits and routine, recalibrating yourself, committing to what you're doing, and pouring into yourself, because the work of purpose and impact is physically, emotionally, and sometimes spiritually exhausting. So the way that we set ourselves up for success is, how are we operating on a daily basis? Like, your intentions and your thoughts are literally physically manifested in our habits and actions. So, and it's absolutely imperative to prioritize creative white space and self-care. And again, I just go back to this workshop, and it's just amazing to me what a powerful conversation point during and after the workshop, and still continues to be, is that creative white space and just anchoring in this purpose. 92% of people fail to achieve their goals. And it's because the distinction of a goal simply is something you want to do, right? How many times have we said, I want to go there one day, I want to do that one day? But a commitment is something that you decide you will do. And again, anchoring, decide, declare, do. So I want to share another quote with you from Helen Keller. We can do anything we want to if we stick to it long enough. So many times, just from being an entrepreneur, some people will say, I don't know how you do it. How do you keep going? And the thing is, I think that is the one consistent personality trait from every entrepreneur, even in corporate businesses. All corporate businesses started out as an entrepreneurial vision that constructed systems to duplicate the process. And the consistent thing with all of them was that they just didn't stop. They just didn't give up. They kept on going to figure it out. All right? So, and in doing that, I did touch on the anchoring of your purpose, to make sure part of that anchoring included work-life harmony. How are you going to incorporate those habits to rest and refuel your energy, the creative white space, and your morning and evening routine? And we did talk about that in the first few episodes of Amplify My Impact of this podcast when it launched. So if you need to revisit that, and we're going to create some tools actually in our Amplify community. So there will be tools and resources and worksheets for you to create these routines and these habits, to create your own roadmap, to make it uniquely your own so that you can put this into play. All right, some questions to ask yourself to anchor your purpose. Taking inventory of your energy. I am at my best when, and you fill in the blank, complete the sentence. Or blank refuels me. Going on a walk refuels me. Swimming laps refuels me. When I do my breath work and the yoga refuels me, right? And I want to emphasize here the number of hours of sleep that you get at night definitely contribute to your capacity for energy, the focus, and just being on your A game. So don't neglect your hours of sleep. A little bit of soapbox moment there. Now, I want to also invite you to answer these two questions. I would like more time too, and to do what I would need to do. Fill in the rest of that. Now we get to the activation. What is one small action that you can take today to activate your purpose? It might just be reaching out and telling someone what you're committed to. It might be going live and talking about your heart-centered mission. It might be sending that email and making that offer, or following up with a conversation that's already been started. It might be going to your team lead or your boss and saying, I would like to form a committee that supports women leadership in the company. What does it look like? Share it with someone, say it out loud, take immediate action. And you'll be so incredibly and pleasantly surprised about the momentum that kicks into place when you do that. I want to share another quote with you by J.A. Baker. Vision with action can change the world. And with that completes the slide deck that I had as we walked through this purpose workshop. And I'm just inspired all over again for all of these talking points and all of these, like this recentering and this recalibration. And even in recording this series of podcasts and the opportunity that I almost let like overwhelm me in overcomplicating things. And, there were some times where I sat down to methodically plan out every single episode and topic. And then I just recentered myself with my mission and my purpose. And my purpose is for to show up and serve, right? Surrender, show up and serve. And I wholeheartedly believe that my mission is where my feet are. So there's circumstances in life that are going on right now. This purpose workshop literally just happened a few weeks ago. And it's no coincidence that I feel it's interesting when you can turn around and you can see God's hand at work when you do just show up and serve. More opportunities to serve and topics to discuss and talk about. And when it comes to purpose and when it comes to impact, and in the business world, sometimes those things can just get clouded by scale and profitability and growth and revenue and marketing tactics and all of the things that are coming out in innovations and AI and technology and all of the things. And I almost fell victim to that same competition where it's like, okay, so where does the world of impact fit in all of these shiny objects that people and businesses have to pursue? And the thing is, I get to surrender that it fits to where the people need it most. And the people need it most right where you're at. So if you're hearing this message, if you've tuned in to this episode, it is not by mistake. It was not by mistake that I was contacted in the timing that I was for the Purpose Workshop. Literally while recording the launch of the Amplify My Impact podcast. I could not have scripted that out better because I needed my own reminder of all of the things that I have went through and the processes that I have lived through, but I needed to be reminded again that purpose is it's like a muscle. just like intuition is like a muscle, just like the way that we operate in our day-to-day lives and we choose the energy. Like everything is a choice that we choose to renew day in and day out. And there is a process to that. And that process I needed to be reminded of to awaken, align, anchor, and activate. So thank you for sharing with me in this purpose-driven journey of this podcast, for being here, for joining me episodes week in and week out, and the community that we're creating together that I will be sharing in upcoming episodes. Like, it's really exciting. Everything's being built out right now. We have our first few members that are getting settled in, and then the guests that we're going to have joining us on the show upcoming, with my daughter Farah being the very first guest episode we're going to be releasing. So much goodness coming your way. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.